won't lie, prepping for this video, I realised that I undercharged for my stitch markers, so that was a nice eye-opening thing for me. Need to adjust my pricing, but as of right now, this isn't a video to have a business crisis. Hey everyone, it's Hannah and it's time for another video in the Creative Business mini-series, and today is all about finances, which I know isn't the most exciting of topics, but hopefully it will be useful to some of you. If you'd like to follow me on social media, please feel free. Links can all be found in the description box below, along with any other useful information that I think you might need. I am a small business owner and I've been running my business, The Corner of Craft, for the past 7 years, being full-time for the past 2.25 years. It's pretty impressive. I make hand-beaded stitch markers to be used in knitting and crochet, and I also dye yarn in colours inspired by Dungeons and Dragons under the label Chromatic Yarns. If you want to know more about how I set up my business and all of that, feel free to check out the first video in this series. That will be linked in the description box. That was one of the useful links that I earlier mentioned. So this is the 4th video in the series, so if you want to know the basic things about how to set up a business, that was the last video, and the 10 things I wish I knew before setting up a business, that was a couple of videos ago. I mean, in this series, I also have a knitting podcast fortnightly, so stuff's happening. Like I said, this week we're talking about money and finances, and this includes pricing things and tracking your finances, coming in, going out. I briefly touch on taxes, but I will say that I am not an accountant or a financial expert. I do all my own accounts at the moment, but if it's not either something you don't feel comfortable with or you're not sure about something, please seek advice from a professional. I don't want you getting in trouble for some advice that I gave that maybe wasn't suitable for your business. So that's my heads up. I have a cup of tea. I haven't spoken much today, but I did take way too long putting my makeup on, and then I put glasses on so you can't even see how orange is happening on my head. So yeah, people don't really like talking about money, but we're kind of getting into it today. So we're going to start off by talking about pricing, as I feel like that's a very important thing to talk about that not many people think about. I've briefly mentioned in previous videos about how underpricing is damaging to not only your shop but also the market that you're trying to get into or you are in. And so yes. So to start with, we are going to be talking about pricing. As I mentioned in an earlier video, undercharging doesn't necessarily guarantee you more sales and could actually be more damaging in the long run. I've touched on that in previous videos. I won't go into it too much here, but there is actually a formula to how to work out pricing. Once again, this is not set in stone. You can tweak it to what to what suits you, basically. So you take the cost of the supplies to make the item and you add in your hourly rate. You charge whatever you want for your hourly rate. I can't remember what minimum wage is now, £8.50, is it in the UK? I don't know. But you charge what you want to charge for your hourly rate, and if you add together the supplies and the time, that is the item cost. That is how much things cost. So your item cost is how much your item costs to make with no profit whatsoever. That is like the base that we then work all the rest of the prices off. So to work out the wholesale price, you can take your item cost and times it by your markup. I forgot the word. Times it by the markup, and it's usually about 2 to 2.5, and that then equals your wholesale cost. So you can choose what you want your markup to be. Just because I said it's usually between 2 and 2.5, that doesn't necessarily mean that that's what you want to multiply by. That's fine. That's fine. So the wholesale price is the price that shops and such will buy your products off of you at. Okay, let's put it in terms. I have written a book, let's say. I haven't, but let's say I have. Nope, that's a terrible example. Okay, so I've made a necklace. There we go. And Handmade Nottingham, I live in Nottingham, Handmade Nottingham, which stocks a lot of handmade things, wants to sell my necklace. They can buy a set quantity at a lower price than it would have been in my shop. That would be the wholesale price, because then when they sell it, they also get a profit is how a shop works. So to work out your retail cost, you take the wholesale price, you multiply it by the markup, which is usually between 2 and 2.5, and then that is your retail cost. That is how much you sell your product for. Okay, so now we're getting into the example. So the necklace that I earlier mentioned, say that the material cost of your necklace is £3 and your hourly rate is £12 and it takes you 15 minutes to make. Yeah, so then the hourly rate, or it will be £3 for the supplies plus £3 for your time, so the item cost is £6. Yeah? So to wholesale that, the wholesale, we times that 6, we times by 2, which will be the markup for easier maths for me, thank you. Numbers are not my strongest suit. Yes, so that means that the wholesale cost will be £12, and then if we were to take that wholesale cost and times it by the markup again, which is going to be 2, then the retail cost, or the cost that you and the shop that you wholesale to sell it at, should be about £24. Does that make sense? Hopefully that makes sense. Now this is a really good basis to go off, but you can choose to tweak it if you want. You can charge whatever you want really, but I'm just trying to give you a basic thing to go off. Yes, so you can charge competitively with your competitors. Just when you're pricing your items, just keep your worth in mind. You may think, well, nobody's going to pay this for something that I've made. Yes, they will. So just price fairly. So the beauty of pricing with wholesale in mind when you first start out your business is that if you then suddenly get some wholesale interest, you don't have to have a huge increase in prices, which could upset your current market and your current audience and your current customers. So that is also something to bear in mind. One other thing to bear in mind before I move on is if you offer free postage in your shop, like Etsy tries to encourage, be sure to include that in your price so you don't actually miss out on postage costs. Make sure you add that in. Postage and packaging, make sure you include that in your item cost if you offer free postage. We don't want your business to be at a loss here. In my personal experience, I've found it quite useful to have products at a range of prices. While I've earlier mentioned in a previous video to price things with your target market in mind, because we should, it is useful to have a couple of items at various different price points. In my experience, the lower price items tend to sell better at craft fairs and things like that because they can be a bit more of an impulse purchase. If you only have items that are around £100, that's amazing. Congratulations on being such a luxury brand. But it does mean that it is a more considered purchase than, say, you have something worth £5. That it's good to have a range, just so you know. It's good to have a range. I've also heard or read somewhere, it's in the back of my mind, but I can't remember where I heard it from, that having 1 or 2 more expensive items in your shop can be good because it makes your mid-range, your normal price items seem more reasonable. I haven't tested out this theory. I don't know if it's true, but if you're looking at a shop and you're thinking £200 for a handbag, but they have a few handbags that are a couple of grand, you might look at that £200 handbag and think, oh, actually that's a bit of a bargain because this is a luxury brand. So I guess it's that kind of mentality. Like I say, I haven't tested this out myself, so don't know if it works, but just sharing some thought nuggets that I have in my brain somewhere. Okay, so now we're going to be talking about keeping track of your finances and spreadsheets. I know, they're not very exciting, but they're essential. Don't know where I'd be without my spreadsheet. Not everyone can afford an accountant. I currently don't use one. I'm quite happy doing my own accounts at the moment. And yeah, I will say it is partly due to the spreadsheet that I have. Now, I planned this video and wrote this script before I reached out about being an affiliate with Paper and Spark. So my opinions are all my own. But for transparency, I am an affiliate with Paper and Spark, who are the spreadsheet company that I use and have used for the past 2.25 years. Since I switched my shop from my Etsy shop to a Shopify shop,
I switched to Paper and Spark spreadsheets, and yes, I've only just reached out about being a sponsor, so I've used their products anyway. Not sponsor, an affiliate. So if you would like any more information about Paper and Spark, or you want to treat yourself, link will be in the description box below. It is an affiliate link. I do get a kickback if you treat yourself. Let's just be transparent here. So when you're starting out your business, it's really important to keep track of how much is going out as well as how much is coming in. Sometimes it can look like a lot of money's coming in and you think, fantastic, this is amazing, but at the same time a lot of money might be going out. And if you haven't worked out your pricing accordingly, then you could find that more money is going out than is coming in, and we don't want anyone to get in a tricky situation. That is why it's very important to, in theory, do your finances every month. I tend to do mine every 2 months because I procrastinate, and then I tend to stay up too late one night and sit and do all my finances and then think, fantastic, cool, don't have to do that for another couple of months. Doesn't work for everyone. It would be way better for me if I did it monthly, or even as I went along. Paper and Spark, like I said, is the spreadsheet that I use. They have spreadsheets for Shopify, for Etsy, for Square, for Amazon selling, I think, for Handmade Amazon, I think, and they're pretty cool. So you can get their spreadsheets formatted for the US dollars, Canadian dollars, and pounds. But I have also had someone in Norway, hey Selena, in Norway tell me that they asked to have them converted to krona, I think, crown. I don't speak Norwegian. Krona, and they switched it for her. Before they offered the British spreadsheet, I messaged them and asked if they could switch it to pounds, if they could change the date format, and if they could change it to be from April to April instead of January to December. But now they have a UK spreadsheet, so then it's fine. Each spreadsheet comes with a how to use it user guide, and walks you through how to, I use Shopify, so I will use my example. They walk you through how to download all your sales from Shopify and put them in the spreadsheet, and how to make it work, basically. If you find that something doesn't work, I have had this before with my spreadsheet, I had an email back and forth with them, and they fixed it for me, and it was absolutely fantastic. In my experience, it was a one-off cost of, I think, around $40 US dollars, and each year I get sent a new spreadsheet, so I think that's pretty cool. That might just be me, but I think that's pretty cool. They also have spreadsheets to keep track of inventory and stuff, but we're not going into that right now. The fantastic thing about keeping track of your finances, let's not just talk about Paper and Spark, because I also know that there's things like QuickBooks, but I can't talk about my experience with QuickBooks as I haven't used them. But in my Paper and Spark spreadsheet, I have split down my expenses into, they have expenses for your postage, so but then I've also broken down that into like postage, supplies, and sort of bare stock, and things like that. Yeah. I've broken down my expenses, and that is very useful. There's also some extra columns or extra rows in, so you can add your income from other places. So for me, for example, I can add my income from yarn shows when I used to do them in the before times, but also from YouTube, also from various other affiliates that I have. And it's pretty useful just to keep track of finances and have it all in one place. Another thing that is quite important to do is to try to keep receipts and invoices, and try to keep them somewhat organized. This is the first year that I've actually got one of those stretchy filing systems, and I've been keeping them separate from each month. Usually I can show you actually what I did last year. So last year I just put them in this clear wallet. It's okay, there's no personal information on there. But then the wallet broke, so I'm having to keep it together with elastic band. Don't do this. This is a really bad idea. This year is way more organized, and I'm happier for it. But that's just in case you need to be audited for tax reasons, so try to keep your receipts. Most invoices are digital now anyway, so I suppose that's also good. Also, apps like QuickBooks allow you to take a picture of the receipt and store it in there, I believe. When I worked at a coffee shop, I had a few people take pictures of their receipts if they were there for a business meeting or what have you. So pretty sure that's QuickBooks.
You can also connect QuickBooks to your Shopify, I think. But like I say, I have not used QuickBooks, therefore I cannot give my advice. If any of you have any finance tracking advice, feel free to leave it in the comments below, any apps or programs that you find particularly useful. Let's get a conversation going. Okay, now we're getting a bit more serious. We're going to be talking about taxes, and I can only comment on UK taxes because I am in the UK. So I can only comment on UK taxes because that are the only taxes that I've done. Like I've already said, please seek out any financial help or any help from professional financial people, accountants. If you're at all unsure, tax is something that we don't want to get in trouble with. Although it's recently come out that Donald Trump apparently managed to only pay $750 in taxes for the last 2 or 3 years, which is quite impressive for a billionaire. So I have some very good news to those of you who kind of want to test the waters of a business. HMRC have, who are the UK tax people, have introduced like a little tax brackets for handmade or for small businesses. So if you earn less than £1,000, that's before you take out expenses. Is it before? Yeah. So your gross earnings. So £1,000 in a year, then you don't have to pay tax, which is pretty cool. You technically don't have to declare it either. Yeah, you don't even have to declare it. So that's pretty cool. But yes, so that's up to £1,000. That's your gross income. So that's not including anything that's taken out. That's not including the postage that you've paid or the materials that you've paid for. These are the reasons it's important to keep track of your finances, because if you didn't keep track of your finances, you might not be aware how much you've earned. You might have thought, oh, I've only taken £1,000, but actually you've taken 3. So if you earn over £1,000, you do need to register for self-assessment. You can just do this on the government website, and it's not as scary as it sounds. The first time I had to do my own taxes, I believe that it was 2015, so I think I was 24. I was gonna say 14, I was not 14, I think I was 24. And I thought it would be a lot more scary than it was. Anything I didn't understand whilst filling out the form, I had a quick Google and it explained it to me in layman's terms. Take your time with it. You've got this. But this is why, another reason keeping track of your finances is so important, because when you need to fill in how much you've spent and how much is coming in, if it's all just already in a spreadsheet, bish bash bosh, it's done. You don't have to go through all of your bank statements and like add up everything that you've paid for. It's all in a spreadsheet, and it tells you on the front page of that spreadsheet your expenses and your income and all of that, and it's pretty incredible. So the UK financial year is a bit weird. It runs from the 6th of April to the 5th of April, I think, or usually around then. I don't really know why. I didn't look up why. It's just one of those things. It's a bit weird. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but that's fine. So your tax return is due the 31st of January after the financial year has ended. So I'm going to break it down because this is how we learn things. The 2019-2020 financial year ran from the 6th of April 2019 to the 5th of April 2020, and the tax return for that year is due the 31st of January 2021. Like I earlier mentioned, I procrastinate. But something I don't procrastinate on is my taxes, for a couple of reasons. One of them being, if you manage to get your tax in before the 31st of October, your student finances are automatically taken out of it, is automatically sort of included in your bill that you have to pay if you earn over. Obviously everyone's student finance threshold is different, but if you earn over the threshold then, and you do it before the 31st of October, it's taken into consideration. After that, you kind of have to do it yourself, and it's way more confusing. Another reason is, if you rush it, you probably will make mistakes. If you leave your finances if you leave your tax to do until the 30th or even the 31st of January,
you're going to rush it, you're going to miss things, you're going to make mistakes, and you might end up paying more or missing some things, and neither of them are good. I got so distracted by a squirrel on the fence. I'm very sorry. The final reason is, I'm just going to toot my own horn for a second. I have already done my finances for the year. I did them at the end of April. As in, that's my 2019-2020 finances. I did them at the end of April. Partly because we want to buy a house, and we're currently in the process of buying a house, so it was needed for that. And also because then you know how much your tax bill is. You can then budget that. As soon as that amount came up, I put it somewhere else and put it in my savings. I mean, it's there if I need it, and then I can hopefully earn it back. But, you know, I've put it there. I probably won't pay it till January, because why give them the money early? But I've put it somewhere else. I budgeted it in, and it meant that it wasn't a surprise. Especially if you have a successful Christmas, and then you think, I've got so much money, this is amazing. And then you do your taxes, and then they're like, I'd like all of that, please. And you think, well, I've spent it on presents. It just gives you the chance to budget and plan and, you know, set some aside each month. I mean, in theory, you should have been doing that anyway, but nobody does. I mean, some people possibly do. I don't. So, for 2020 and 2021, you can earn up to, I'm reading this because I want to get the numbers right. Oh good, the sun's come out. Now my light looks weird. So for 2020-2021, which is the current financial year we're in, you can earn up to £12,500 a year after expenses. So that's how much you've earned when you've taken out everything that you've paid for. That's like basically the profit aspect, before you have to pay tax, which is pretty cool. That's quite a large amount. That does include, that does include if you have if you're employed by someone, that does include that income as well. So bear that in mind. VAT, which is the value added tax, you don't have to pay VAT on any of your, or full stop, for your business until you earn more than £85,000 a year. And unlike everything else, that's not a financial year, it's a rolling year. So if your business is picked up from last August to this August, then that would count. It's not April to April, it's the rolling year, which is really annoying, but such is life. And you have to register for VAT, and then, yeah, I don't really understand about VAT. I do not pay VAT on my business yet. I will probably get an accountant when I do, if I do get to that point of my business. I've written here, maths and skills beyond my capabilities, that's a problem for future Hannah, which basically sums up my life. Okay. That is going to be it for finances. Thank you so much for sticking with me. I know it's been a very long video. I will, as I always do, type up all of my notes and pop them on my blog. Link will be in the description box below. This isn't legal financial advice. I'm not an accountant. Please find help if you need it. Please feel free to check the description box below for the playlist for this series, as well as all of my social medias. Also feel free to support me on Ko-fi. Thank you to everyone who has so far. It truly does mean a lot to me, if you can just chuck a couple of quid my way. And I was going to say something else. Oh yes, the affiliate link for Paper and Spark will also be in the description box below. Feel free to subscribe for some more videos like this. Like I also said, I do also have a knitting and crochet podcast once a fortnight. So if you think that's something that you might enjoy, feel free to subscribe. Give this video a thumbs up and share it with other people that might find it useful if they're starting up a small business. And yes, thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all very soon. Bye.